Hello, Assalamu alaikum students. Good morning. My name is Hamza and this is Saif.
Hi.
We're from the Citizens Archive of Pakistan and today we will be hosting your Book Clubs Across Borders session in which we're discussing Bhabsi Sidhwa's Crow Eaters. So how do we start? Would you all like to first go ahead and tell us your impressions of the book? How did you feel when you read it? Did it make you think of anything? And then after that, we can discuss your points and we have an interview of Bhabsi Sidhwa, which you can also watch. So who would like to go first and tell us about what they thought of the book?
I would just like to, Hamza, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Harmat, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that I just wanted to congratulations guys for helping us in making this project a reality and connecting to all of these sessions, reading all of these books. So
Harmat, we heard, yeah. Go ahead.
So if anyone wants to start talking about what they read and what they understood of the book, any student who would like to start off, I think we'd really appreciate someone volunteering to talk about it. Yeah. Kanza, sure. We can ask you to
So,
answer.
No, not directly, yeah. So- Yes,
Hello,
Kanzan,
can you
go
hear?
ahead. We can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Yes.
So I think the book was supposed to introduce us to the Parsi community and their rituals and their culture because they are in minority and we don't know about them much. It was a good book, but I couldn't find a message in the book because it was all about, like, it was written in a humorous way, but I think I couldn't find the message in the book.
Okay. I'm sure there are some messages in the book, and maybe Nematullah can tell us if he found some sort of message in the book. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Assalamualaikum, sir. Sir, first of all, I would like to say that I would like to appreciate the efforts of Pakistani American novelist Bhabsi Sidhwa. He wrote
Nicholas, there's a lot of
brilliant-
background noise. You will need to turn off whatever is in the background, please. We can't hear you.
Sir, I will talk to you in 5 minutes.
Sorry, there's a little bit of disturbance in your line. I think वो हमारी आवाज अब सर.
No, I think.
Anybody else want to talk about the book before Nematullah comes back? Anyone? There is no right or wrongs. Anybody can come up and talk about it. Okay. Hamza, what did you think of the book? Why don't you tell the students and maybe that'll help them understand what they want to talk about.
Okay, so at times I feel, can you all hear me? Can someone just confirm if I'm
Audible?
Yes, sir, Hamza, we can hear you.
all right, Amna, thank you. And we would like to hear from you as well then, Amna. So at times I feel like Kanza said that there's no specific message that she found in the story. I understand that, you know, as we grow up, we are used to reading stories from which we extract some kind of moral or lesson or some very tangible value out of that story. But at times it's not necessary. It may be, you know, that it would be that straightforward. Messages can be woven into the stories in much deeper ways. So in Bhabsi Sidhwa's work, this book the genre is historical fiction. So what she's doing is she takes a community, she takes the Parsi community, And she tells the story of the Parsi community through the story of a family and the family drama and their economic struggles and their social struggles. So what she's actually doing is that she's taking elements of actual history, things that really happened to this community in history. The Parsi community did go through multiple stages of migration, which changed their fortunes completely. And it changed their culture, right? So they originally come from Iran, but then at one point they moved to Gujarat. And then from Gujarat, they migrate elsewhere. They become a very big business community. And one of the conditions the ruler of Gujarat set upon them was that they would adopt Gujarati culture, and specifically that the women would adopt the sari. So, the author takes all of these historical elements and then narrates the story. So your job then, or all our jobs then, aren't to pick out one particular message, but you look at the whole historical way in which she's telling the story. And then you go do your own research. You speak to your Parsi friends. You question your own assumptions about what you have thought about this community, right? And Kanza, just look at the name of the book, right? The Crow Eaters. That's the translation of something derogatory that's said to that the Parsis are called because of their talkativeness or their loudness or whatever. But isn't that just a message? I mean, why would you read something that has a derogatory title, right? That in itself is a message that when they say, okay, what's that saying? Don't judge a book by its cover, right? So it's something like that.
I think Amna has something
Sir
to say.
Hamza. Yes, may I speak? So what I learned from this book is that I learned a lot about multiculturalism. There are so many cultures in this world. We are living in Pakistan, but we do not know about different cultures, the values behind their thoughts, the way they see things, the way they see their life, and the way they the way they believe on luck. So for me, this book was really sort of cultural studies, especially a culture about a people that are living with us, but usually we do not think about those pupils. So yes, it was some sort of courage zone for me to read about those different cultures and to understand their perspectives of their life, to read a lot more about their values and their belief system. So yes, that's what. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I think even one of the themes of the book overall would be an acceptance of other people's cultures. Like Hamza very rightfully put, that the title of the book is a slur. It basically is something that would be used to make fun of a particular community. But what Bhabsi does is she owns that slur. And I feel that's one of those themes that is very, very overpowering in the book. So does anybody want to comment on what they thought the first time that they read the title? What came to their mind? What picture came to their mind? Or what did they think? If anyone has anything to say about that. Amna, would you like to talk about it? The first time that you read the title. Anybody?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Hermat. Can you guys hear us? Yes, okay.
Okay, Rahmat, say something because I think we lose you in the middle.
Amna, do you have something to say? Your hand is raised. Would you like to say something? Okay. Anybody have anything that came to their mind the first time that they read the title, The Crow Eaters? When they read the title, or any sort of imagery that came to their mind, any picture that was made before reading the book. and if that idea changed over the course of the book. Would anyone like to talk about that? If two people raising their hands, Kanza?
All right, friends, we would ask you to really lower your hands if you have nothing to say, because that confuses us, and now we're just waiting for you to talk. So Amna, is there something you'd like to say, or should we go ahead?
I'm having connection issues.
That's not. Okay, so since Amna is not speaking, I will comment on what she just said. What Amna said was that there are a lot of cultures in the world, but we don't know much about them. We don't know about their worldview. And what the book does is it really introduces her to studying different cultures and understand them. So you're all from Karachi, right? This session, all the students are from Karachi. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but this is something Seth and I talk about all the time, that Karachi is actually one of the most diverse and one of the most culturally plural cities in the world. You have so many languages spoken here. I think you have Karachi has around 60 different ethnicities, different cultures living here, speaking different languages, eating different foods, having different cultural traditions. But in your daily experience, in your everyday experience, you don't experience that, which is also what Amna said. And when I read, when I read such literature, it really motivates me to speak to all kinds of people and get to know about them, because we keep talking about tolerance in today's world, but tolerance really, it doesn't mean much. It's actually quite fake if you're not actively entangling yourself with the diversity that is around you. Okay, so Hermat has shared her comment in the chat, which I can read out for all of you. So she says that when I used to see this book in the bookstore, I always used to think that it's about people who eat crows. And I always used to think that Parsis eat crows. But when I read the book last year, it totally changed my perspective about the book. And it really took me by surprise. And it has become one of my favorite South Asian books now. That's a nice story, Hermat. Okay, Amna, you still have your hand raised. Do you want to continue commenting, or are you done? Do the students who've just joined have anything to say about the book? So I can see Isha and Khan just joined.
Anam and Rafia, can you guys hear me?
Okay, so if you guys have, wait, Muhammad, are you saying something?
I was just going to say, they have a lot of views on the book. So please, Anam and Rafia, would you like to say something about the book?
Someone said this.
Want to respond to it?
Okay, so someone said the book title made me think of different caste systems and injustice in the society. After reading the book, now I have a good knowledge bank about the Parsis.
Anam and Rafia.
Anam and Rafia said this. That's very nice. So I do think that the title or the book did make you feel like it was something derogatory or it was something bad, right? Like the crow eater. When you think about it, it seems like it's just not very palatable. But I feel, yeah, that was one of the themes of the book, that if you went through it and you read it, you found out that even though there are people with different cultures and different ethnicities and even at some points different religions, but we're at the end of the day, we're all people, right? We're all the same. We all struggle the same way. We all have the same problems, and we all find solace in the same things. So I feel that's a very nice point, and thank you so much for sharing. Hamza, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you summed it up quite well. I really want to hear from the students, and if we are not hearing from the students right now, would you all like to? Why can you barely hear us? Do you have an internet connection problem? Okay. All right. So we can just share the video, the interview of Bhabsi Sidhwa, so that you can have some more context about the book.
And if you guys can't hear the video or see it, so we'd like you to speak up and tell us. We don't want you to sit through it if you can't hear it. Okay.
Yeah. And before we start, it's it's important for you to know where the objects you're reading come from, right? So Bhabsi Sidhwa's novel was published in 1978, and that was when no English publications were being done in the country. So she had to self-publish it and self-distribute it, right? As you grow older and you study more about where the books you read come from, facts like these will be important. So you should always look up where the books emerge from and how they circulate. Okay, so we're just going to try to play the interview now.
If anyone has anything to add right now while we're waiting, please go ahead. We're waiting to hear from you guys.
Yes, Amna, go ahead.
Please let us know if you guys can hear the video, okay? In the comments.
My brother मुझसे 1 साल छोटे थे और वो मुझे because as a child I told you I didn't go to school सब मुझे थोड़ा retarded समझते till I wrote the Crow Eaters.
Sorry. It's a little bit of technical glitch here.
My brother मुझसे 1 साल छोटे थे till I wrote the Crow Eaters. अब इत्तेफाक से ये हुआ मेरे भाई आ रहे थे मैं प्राइवेसी में चुपचाप लिखती थी क्योंकि मेरा हस्बैंड का फैमिली बिजनेस था मेरा भी फैमिली बिजनेस था तो अगर पता चला किसी को कि मैं किताब लिख रही हूँ तो मजाक उड़ाते हैं Is it all right for John? So they would cheer कि Bhabsi ने क्या लिखना है रोमांस लिखेगी और मजाक करते थे So even my brother didn't know, but he vaguely suspected. अब एक दिन वो फैज साहब के साथ जहाज में बैठे थे coming from Pindi to Lahore. And Javed Iqbal ने क्या किया था कि after my book was self-published, before it was launched, he tore off the back and front covers and gave it to all the writers. तो उनमें से फैज साहब थी तो फैज opened this little ragged little book and he showed it to my brother and said ये कोई पारसी औरत ने लिखी है तो मुझे बता सकते हो कौन है So my brother opened the book and he said I think my sister writes and he read it and he said this is from my sister So वो दोनों मेरे घर आ गए गुलबाग में I used to live near the Gulbarg market at that time. वो उन जमाने में तो खैर एक ही एयर कंडीशन होता था बेडरूम में तो फैज साहब वहाँ आए He said, "You've written this book?" I said, "Yes." He said, "It's a very good book, but it's a second class book." मैं कहा, "अच्छा जी, thank you." और wrote Mr. Biswas. You किसने लिखी? Naipal, who won the Nobel Prize. And Naipal I used to really revere. And he said, your book is as good as Narayan and Naipal. And he took a lot of names. I said, Faisal, you're the best for me. You're the best writers. He said, no, your book is as good as that. So I said, what do you mean by first class writers? Shakespeare, Milton, I said, thank you very much. Putting me in the second class is an honor. And then he sat for a long time and we chatted, And he became a friend. Then मैं Russia गई थी, वहाँ मिले थे 2-3 दफा. And बस वो हालात थे. I was always in Lahore. And I migrated to Bombay, where my husband belonged, where the whole Parsi community is based. So that was a charming experience for me to be, for the first time, to be embedded in my community and to get to know Parsis. And part of what I learned there went into the crowds. I realized what a nutty, funny community we are. Not that we are not nutty in Pakistan too, but we are very few.
Great. Did all of you get to understand the video and see it? Did you hear it? Does anyone want to comment on the video? The interview? Anybody? Okay. I would also like to talk about some of the themes of the book. So if anyone could maybe guess one of the themes, or maybe could find that they felt that this was an idea that kept on recurring in the book. I see Amna has her hand up, but she's had it up all class. So does anyone want to say anything about any of the themes? Or maybe someone can tell me what they think a theme is. Anybody? Yes, Kanza, do you want to say something?
Yes, I think she wrote the book to tell uh, all the world reading it about the misconceptions that we had about the Parsi community and all the queries we had about them. So she could answer them through the book.
Okay. Did you watch the video? Did you watch the interview?
Yeah, I watched the interview, but it
You
was like I couldn't hear what she was saying. It
you couldn't
was
hear what she was saying. Okay, so basically she was saying that her brother met Faiz Ahmad Faiz in a plane. And when he was coming. Does everyone know who Faiz Ahmad Faiz is?
he's a poet.
Yes, we know.
Yeah? Who knows who he is? किसी ने yes बोला था. कौन था वो?
He's a poet.
Gee, he's a poet. He's a poet. He's a very famous Pakistani poet, right? And he's written many amazing nazms. And we can talk about those one day, but he's very revered, well revered. And her brother saw him in a plane, and he was reading a book, and coincidentally, he was reading Bhabsi's book, right? And they found out that he was reading the book, and he came to meet her in her house in Gulberg, and told her that she had written a good book, but it's a second class book. Okay, and she asked him, why is it a second class book? And he said that it's very good, but first class writers are people like Shakespeare and Milton. And she said that then it's very nice that I'm at least you're counting me in the second category, right? Where he named a lot of very good writers as well. So that I think in itself tells you what a great book it is. If someone as great as Faiz Ahmad Faiz is commenting on its importance and its relevance, तो मेरे ख्याल से ये बहुत एक बड़ी बात है. Has anyone read anything by Faiz ever? Any poem, any nazam, anything by Faiz Ahmad Faiz? We'd really like to hear. I think that would be very interesting if one of you have ever read anything by him. There's a Khan here who said yes, he'd heard of them. Oh, Kanza, yes, please go ahead. Anyone who wants to say anything? Yeah.
I read मुझसे पहली सी मोहब्बत मेरे महबूब ना मांग.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. What
People
did you
say
think?
that he wrote it for his lover or something like that, but he wrote it in jail and it was about our country.
It was all a country. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Bilkul. That's very nice.
So this is Kanza. What Kanza has just brought up is very important. So when we talk about how, what kind of a message any book has, जिस तरह हम शुरू में भी बात कर रहे थे, so we need to keep this in mind. Things aren't that straightforward, especially when it comes to texts. You really have to read between the lines. Okay, so like I said, with Bhabsi Sidhwa's novel, it's about history and fiction, and using the fiction to actually explain the history or narrate history. When Kanza said that Bhabsi uses the book to address misconceptions about the Farsi community through storytelling, this is really important to think about, because when we answer misconceptions, we are usually responding, we are usually making value judgments, right? What's right, what's wrong? Okay, why do you think this is wrong and why do you think that is right? And these things cannot happen in absolute ways. You need to have some kind of a narrative. You need to have some kind of a story, some kind of a context to explain all those things. So that's why storytelling is important. And Kanza, it's really great that you brought this point up. And thank you for that.
Also, you said that Faiz Saab was in jail. So does anyone know why Faiz Ahmed Faiz went to jail? I think that's a very lesser known fact. So if anyone knows it, I'd be very impressed. And we'll also tell you about it if you want.
Yeah, Rafa Javed here. I think the first paragraph or the first stanzas are about how like it's all about his I can say that the time where he fell in love, and he wrote about all about his lover and how he wrote about it, and then he went to jail and he has seen the brutality, the cruelty in the world, and after seeing those kind of thing, after that, and I think he writes that अब भी दिल का है तेरा हुस्न मगर क्या कीजिए. So that was the point where he describes that you are as beautiful as you were, but now this isn't me, that my point of view has changed. So all that thing that he brought up in the second stanzas or the second part of the poem was really, really interesting and amazing, because it explains all the things like all the cruelties that he's seen. And I think I can anyone who has read the poem, or I can say those verses, it's more like the person must have felt the thing that poet really wanted them to feel.
Oh, okay. Rafia, so one thing to keep in mind over here would be, you're absolutely right about everything you said, but one thing to keep in mind would be who who is the beloved, right? Or the lover, which Faiz is speaking about or speaking to. Who do you think that is? I just want to hear your answer.
Well, I don't really have any idea.
Okay, so who could it be? When we look at these texts, right? When we look at all of these poems and this literature, what's the possibility here? What are the possibilities? Okay, who could it be? I can give you a hint. What could it be? Okay, so the beloved in this context can be multiple things, right? Sure, it can be a human, but it could also be the country. It could be the love of the land. It could be the political state of affairs. It could be a number of things. So you have to keep your mind open and be reading between the lines like that, because when you do that with texts, you find out really interesting things.
Sometimes the beloved is also God. Sometimes they refer to the beloved as a person. They personify it. They give them human-like qualities, but they are at sometimes talking about God or about spirituality, right? That's also a recurring theme in some South Asian poetry. I'd also like to point out that Fez went to jail for something called the Rawalpindi Conspiracy. And if anyone has time later, maybe, I don't know if they'll teach it to you in history, but you can Google it. And it's a really interesting thing that happened in our history, in Pakistan's history. And you'll find out why one of the greatest poets of Pakistan went to jail.
Okay, and it's our last 5 minutes. So let's read Anam Javed's comment over here. She says, Jarbano's character was quite relatable to me, like her attachment to India. She didn't want to leave. Actually, that reminds me of my grandmother. She visited us once, and within 2 weeks, she started missing the village. That was relatable because I've seen my Dadi Ma convincing my Dada Abba to go back to the people they belong to. And the migration part reminded me of the story my grandfather told me. He migrated from Hyderabad to Lahore. Okay, Anam, that's a very complicated story of migration.
And we really want to thank you for sharing such a story with us. I think the whole concept of displacement is very integral to building you as a person. So me and Hamza, we interview people who migrated from India to Pakistan in 47, right? And I think it does have a lasting and very generational issue. It won't just be effective on the person who migrated. It affects their family, it affects their kids, and it sometimes even affects their kids. Being a migrant and being detached from the homeland, right? So that's a great theme to talk about, and I'm sure it's one of the main themes in Bhabsi's book as well. We don't have a lot of time, but if Hamza, if you want to add something about migration and displacement, we'd really like to hear it.
Okay, so I can tell you guys, since you're in Karachi and I know some Parsi families in Karachi, one of the things that a lot of migration can do, as we know that this community has been migrating a lot again, right, to the Western world, and one of the things that's happened is they're actually running out of priests, right? Like the Imam Sahib for them, like the Maulana Sahib who leads the prayers, is actually not there anymore. So some young people within the Parsi community, who by profession are something else, they're lawyers or they're doctors, but they have taken up that job. So migration is indeed very complicated. Imagine if you, being Muslims, were to go to the mosque, but there was nobody to lead the prayer. How would you feel? What impact would that have on the community, right? It's just a good it's a good way to get you started on thinking about the deeper implications things can have for societies and small communities.
Especially things where you basically divide one entire country into many different parts just on the basis of very minuscule differences between people. So maybe I think this is a really good book. Hamza's right. It's a really good book to get you started on the impacts of partition, the impacts of the different cultures in the subcontinent. So I think that's good.
Yeah,
Does anyone have anything to say? Anyone want to add anything as a closing note? We'd really love to hear from you guys.
It's
Sir, I
not
have a
my
question.
Yeah, sure.
हमने
Go
माइनस
ahead.
में लिया ना तो जहाँ पे तुम इस तरह कर लो माइनस में करते ना sir, I just want to ask how was her feeling when Jarbano burned fire in his home? Sir, can you hear me?
we can't hear you properly. There's a lot of background noise. Is the television on? Is the TV on in your background? Please turn it off.
No. I just want to say that, sir, how was her feeling when Jarbano burned her home? Can you explain this line? I can't understand.
Could you please type your question? Can you type your question on the chat?
Okay, sir.
Khan, if you can type your question, we can address it. And you'll have to type it soon because our session is about to end in about a minute and we have to do one with another school soon. So please type your question out. Otherwise, we're going to miss this opportunity to discuss your question. Ji, Anam and Rafi, are you saying something?
Well, the last point from my side is like about the book club is thank you guys for arranging these sessions, and the books were really amazing. And it's more like since my routine was really tough and I didn't really get to really got a chance to read books like one book each month. So it was more like I've read more books this year, and that was quite an achievement for me. So thank you for that. Moreover, the book I like the most were the like there are a lot of them, but I think the most favorite one was the Kite Runner. It was already my favorite one, but it's more like when I read it again, it was such an amazing experience, and the book club has built this ability that I can, like, I would say, habit, that I'm more kind of the passionate reader now. So thank you for that.
That's a big comment if you're saying that after this book club you're passionate about the region. So we would really encourage you to continue exploring regional literature in all the languages that you can explore it in, right? Whether it's Urdu or, I mean, I know that you are familiar with South Asian literature written recently in English. But South Asia does have a long tradition of literature, and you should go look into that tradition. What are the genres? Who are the authors? Which cities were they writing in? And all of these things.
Yeah.
Anam, this will Anam, right? Or Rafia?
That was Rafia.
Okay, Rafia. So just make sure you continue exploring that, because it will help you grow and it will change your life.
Sure.
All right, thank you. I think with that we'll end. Khan has not been able to type his question and we could not hear him. So that's unfortunate. But thank you all very much for participating in the session and sharing everything you did share, especially Kanza and Amna and Rafia.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Khudafis.